Hello, Easton. I'm Claudia Donnell. Welcome to Cooking with Claudia. This is my very first episode, so thank you for joining. I hope you enjoy what we're going to do. I am a Brocktonian, born and raised. Been here at 110 Center Street in Northeastern for almost 3 years now, and couldn't be happier. I am half Italian and half Lebanese, and today we're going to make a Lebanese meal, which is very close and near and dear to my heart. Not the chicken so much, but the rice. So we're going to make Lebanese chicken and rice, and we're going to get that started. In total, this whole meal will take you about an hour to an hour and a half to make. Through the magic of television, you won't be here for an hour and a half watching me. But at any rate, that's about the approximation of how long this whole meal will take. So we're going to start first with our chicken. This recipe calls for chicken thighs, which is something I prefer, the dark meat. Boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can also use boneless, skinless chicken breast. It's completely up to you, however you want to do it. So I'm going to take a little bit of salt, and I'm going to sprinkle the salt just a little bit on the chicken thighs. And you see how I did it? I did it from on high, which makes a small amount of salt or whatever seasoning you have go much farther. So you can use less in order to get the flavor that you're looking for. So we're going to bring the chicken over to the stove. And I'm going to bring one more thing over to the stove, and that is the aromatics. This has onion, 2 bay leaves, and 2 cinnamon sticks that we're going to put into the pot with the chicken. So in it goes. Everything's going in. Got that little bit of salt on there that's going to start to flavor. The broth is basically what we're going to do. We're cooking the chicken, and we're making a wonderful broth to go with it. So everything in, I'm going to turn the heat on high, and we're going to put in 6 cups of water. That's 4, and this is 2. And this is using the old math, not the new math. Had to get that in. All right, going to give it a little twirl. We are going to let this come up to a boil, and then we're going to let it simmer. And this is going to cook for about 20, maybe 25 minutes. You just want the chicken to cook through. When we're through with the chicken, we're going to take it out, shred it or cut it. But we're going to use this broth, which is going to be delicious, to flavor the rice that we cook. It's going to be cooked with beef. So I'm going to stop for 1 minute and let this come up to a boil. Then we're going to bring it down to a simmer. So I'll be back in about 1 second. Take care. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're going to be cutting up an onion for our rice. So the hard skin I should have taken off because it made it look like my knife was dull, which it really wasn't. But anyway, so we're going to cut off the tip, and now we have a flat end. I'm going to cut right through the root end, just like that, and peel off a layer or 2. You want to make sure, because there's this translucent or transparent piece of skin that will cause things to slip. And when you're cutting and dicing and chopping, you don't want the knife necessarily to slip. I don't anyway. So we're going to remove this. Make sure that this little layer is off. All right. Now, I take the onion and I hold it in the palm of my hand. It fits pretty nicely like that. And I'm going to dice this rather fine. So I'm going to get that skin off. There we go. Horizontally. And I'm going to go just before the root end. I don't want to cut through. And I'm going to cut now this way. This is how you dice an onion or a potato or whatever you're going to dice. And the thing when you're dicing is you want to make everything the same size. To me, it doesn't matter what size, that's your preference. But you want to make it the same size for a couple of different reasons. One of them is it looks better. And everybody looks and eats with their eyes before they eat with their mouth and teeth. And the second reason is everything will cook at the same time, which is pretty important when you're making a meal. Because you don't want things to, some things to be cooked and some things not to be cooked. And notice now I didn't go through the root end because I'm going to use that as my little handle as we get down closer to the edge. See, there's a piece of that skin that's slippery. Go away. Until it's on your fingers. All right? So I'm going to go for the same size. And basically, it's muscle memory. You know how far you've gone with the knife. And you just slice. And then when you get down to the root end, you hold on to it. And you just do one of these. So you have as much of the onion as you possibly can, and then throw the rest of it away. So that's your lesson on dicing. And the other thing, I don't have any good suggestion for you to prevent your eyes from watering. I have no suggestion for that other than good luck. This right now isn't bothering me, but if I had 2 or 3 more onions, I'd be crying. Short people will probably feel it a little sooner. Taller people won't really feel it. But if I had a suggestion, I would give it to you. The only thing I can say is just do it fast. That's all. Smells good, yeah. It's going to smell better. And this didn't simmer too well, so we're just going to let it go for a little bit longer. Keep your eye on it. Don't mess with it because it's got to cook. And if we're messing with it, we're playing. We're not letting it cook. So let it do its thing. It didn't simmer, so I had to raise the heat a little bit. And now it should be at a good simmer. A simmer is a little bubble as opposed to a boil, which is a rapid bubble. So we're getting things ready over here for the rice. So I have diced the onion. That's ready to rock and roll. We're using for the rice beef. You can also use ground lamb if you'd like. This recipe calls for beef, so that's what we're doing. I like 85% ground beef. It's lean enough that it doesn't have a lot of fat, but it's got enough fat that it gives you the flavor. For me, a 90 to a 93% is very, very lean and might not give you the flavor that you're looking for. But remember, this is all up to you. I always think of a recipe as a guideline. And from that guideline, I may or may not follow it. I might say, I don't think I like that ingredient, so I'm going to omit it. Or, gee, I don't like that ingredient, but I like this one instead. Just remember, when you're changing an ingredient or omitting an ingredient, the flavor is going to be a little bit different. Substantially? No, I don't think so. But what it is, the flavor is going to cater to your taste. And for me, that's the most important, to make sure you like what you're eating. So we've got the 85%. We've got onions. I have some nuts here that we have to toast with some butter. Everything tastes better in butter. That's also going to go in your rice. Another thing we're going to be using is Lebanese 7-spice combination. That's what this is. Now, what's in it is, I got to find the ingredients because it's important for you to know. Allspice, black pepper, cinnamon, ginger, cloves, nutmeg, and mahlab. I have no idea what mahlab is. I should have looked that up. But at any rate, that's what this is. Under normal circumstances, I like to find the recipe to make your own spices. This time I didn't because somebody suggested I need to buy this. This one's the best. It tastes good to me. But that's what we're going to be using. So you can see the flavors are really interesting and different. And that's about it. So I'll be back when we start cooking the rice, okay? Don't go away. This is going to be the best part. All right, so I just double checked the temperature of the chicken, and it was 162 degrees. I'm taking it out now. When food is removed from the heat, it still continues to cook. So this measured 162 degrees. It's going to go up another 5 degrees while it's hanging out and resting. I'm going to put this over here on the counter, and then we have to take this beautiful broth, and we're going to drain all the aromatics out of it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to drain all those good things out of there and use the broth. I need this. We're going to use this. Now the good news about this is it's a one pan meal. So those are the aromatics, the onion, the bay leaf, and the cinnamon, and we're going to throw those away. And I'm going to measure 3 cups, because that's what we need for our rice. Let's see, what's that say? That's a little too much. And then you can reserve this broth and use it to cook another bit of rice or cook vegetables in it. But it's delicious and you shouldn't throw it away. So I'm going to bring this over to the stove and the pot. Now we're going to have some fun. I'm just going to get the pot. This is called a Dutch oven, by the way, and it's porcelain or enamel that covers cast iron. I got this at Ocean State Job Lot. It cost me $40. I have a whole set of these, not this particular brand, at home that was substantially more expensive. This works just as well. So I'm going to put this on high. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of butter. So there's measurements on the side of the paper right here. So that's how I measured it. 2 of these going to go right into the pot and melt. Now, we're also going to put in our ground beef, onions, salt and pepper, and our fancy Lebanese spices. So let's go back over here. Sounds like the butter is melting. Yep. All right, I'm just going to break up this meat, put it in here. This is a pound of meat, of ground beef. I'm going to put in the diced onions. I'm going to put in a teaspoon of salt. We're going to need more, but we're going to start off with a teaspoon of salt. For ground meat, my flavor dictates 1 teaspoon of salt per pound of ground meat. Yours may be different. The handle gets hot. So we're going to let that go in, breaking it up a little bit. I put salt in. Now I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of this fancy spice. 1, 2. Now while that's browning, I'm going to get the nuts and another tablespoon of butter, because everything tastes better in butter. And we're going to melt the butter and brown the nuts. Now the pinoli nuts, this is pinoli nuts and slivered almonds. This is the pinoli nut, and here's the slivered almonds. When my grandmother would make this rice, she never used almonds. I don't remember almonds in it, but I remember the pinoli nuts, also called pine nuts. Let's go see how this is doing. All right. So you want your beef to brown. The butter is mostly melted. I'm going to lower this a little bit. I'm going to put these in, yum, and let those just get nice and brown. I'm just going to lower this for now because that's mostly brown. We've got to let it brown a little bit more. See how nice how golden they're getting? Isn't that nice? Keep your eye on it because they'll go from beautiful golden brown to burned in a very short period of time. You're browning them, they look good, and it's also bringing out the flavors of the nuts and the seeds. Pinoli nuts, they're called, but they're actually the seed of pine cones. And some of these trees take 20 to 30 years to grow before they're able to produce the pine cones that actually give you pinoli nuts or pine nuts. All right, we're good over here. I'm going to turn this back up to high. Put my nuts in. I'm going to put my rice in. This is 2 cups of rice that I rinsed. And the reason you rinse them is you want to get any of the surface starch off. That will make it be a little bit too soft and soggy, and it will have it stick. The rice will stick together. And I don't particularly like it when it's stuck like that, but some people might. So I put in another teaspoon of salt, giving it a little bit of a twirl. Now, in goes our 3 cups of broth. Deliciousness. Bring it up to a boil. We're going to reduce it to a simmer. And we're going to just leave it alone. Once it comes to a boil, you know what else we should do before we cover it up? I'm going to just taste the broth a little bit to make sure it's got good salt flavor in it. But I'm going to put in about a half a teaspoon more because the rice is going to absorb more flavor and we don't want it to be bland. We also don't want to overmix the rice because that's something else that will make it soggy as well. So it's up to a nice boil. I'm going to reduce it now to a simmer. I'm going to cover it just a little bit of jar, and now I'm going to leave it alone for 20 minutes. And I'm actually going to put a timer on so I don't forget. This calls for you can either shred the chicken that you've made or cut it. So I'm going to cut it into bite-sized pieces because it's easier for me. Shredding it sometimes is kind of a pain in the neck. But again, you want everything to look the same because people are going to look in and say, oh, that doesn't look good. I don't want to eat that. Or they're going to say, oh, that looks so good. And then they're going to go in like this. It smells so good. We all know how it's done. So there's a little bit of fat that I'm going to try and trim off because nobody wants to bite into a piece of fat. Chicken thighs and drumsticks are my favorite because they don't dry out. To me, they have a lot of flavor. It's a constant battle with my sons because they like the breast meat. And honestly, I really don't cook breast meat that well because it dries out quickly on me. So, hey, if anybody has a suggestion on how to make chicken breast nice and juicy, pass it along to me if you don't mind. So we're located at 110 Center Street. I think I told you that, in Northeastern. So if you know where Not Just Tabbouleh is, we're in that same building right behind them. So if you're there and you see our flag up, come in and say hello. We love to see people in the neighborhood, meet people. We may have a knife in our hand, but it's not a bad thing. It's because we're working. You always want to make it easy for whoever you're cooking for to eat the meal that you present, even you. So if you're making this just for you, all the better for you to make sure that it's catered to your taste and that it's going to make it easy for you to eat. All right, so that's all ready. I'm going to throw these out. Chicken's ready. So that's about halfway through cooking. When it's done, I'm going to take it off the stove and put it on the table here, but I'm not going to mess around with it. I'm going to let it steam on its own for a few more minutes, and then we'll fluff it up and get everything ready to eat. So we're almost done. As soon as this rice is done, we're going to put that in with the chicken, and you'll have your Lebanese chicken and rice meal. Delicious. Time for a little taste test. You can see it. Oh, doesn't this look great? Let's see. I'm tasting for seasoning and to see if it's done. Oh, it's done. And it's delicious. Covering it. And off the stove it goes for a few more minutes. Then we have some curly leaf parsley here. So I'm just going to break up a little bit. This is for garnish, which my husband objects to, but it makes it look pretty. What is the difference between curly leaf parsley and flat leaf parsley? Just the leaf. The flavor is the same. This is what's often used to make tabbouleh, and that's pretty much it. The texture is about the only thing that's different. The flavor is the same. I happen to like flat leaf parsley better because it's called Italian parsley, And this is not called Lebanese parsley. So, I got to cater to my heritage. Anyway, that's just for garnish. Let's see how we're doing here. This gets hot. So we're going to put a little bit of rice on a plate. Put some chicken on top of it. You know what this smells like to me? This smells like Thanksgiving or Christmas to me. The rice, that's when we would usually have it. And then for stuffing, I remember my situ, which is my Lebanese grandmother, would stuff the turkey with it on Thanksgiving. Now I make it, but I don't stuff the turkey anymore because they say it's not healthy for us. So this is your meal. Of course, you would probably put it in a bigger plate, but this is just for a sample and a taste. That's our meal, everybody. Listen, I hope you use this recipe. If you do use this recipe, I would love your comments. You can email me at claudia@cookingwithclaudia.com. I've had a great time with you today. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoy the meal if you make the recipe. And I'll see you again soon. Thank you very much. Happy cooking, happy eating. Bon appetito. Bye now.